I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but everything's spiraling and I can't sleep. My son, my youngest son, was always the brightest of us. He was quiet, never gave us trouble, and had a good heart. He skipped grades, got scholarships, made something of himself, and he never forgot us. When we struggled, he helped. Rent, groceries, school fees for his siblings. He never said no. He became the pillar of this family. And maybe that's why we leaned on him more than we should have. Hell, I'll say it straight. We used him. We got used to the help, then we expected it. Then we started taking what wasn't offered. It started with his mother asking him to co-sign something. Then my eldest said it'd be harmless to open a small account under his name just to get better terms. Then another loan. Eventually someone used his name, his identity, to open multiple accounts. Loans. Credit cards. I don't know how deep it went, honestly. I should have stopped it. I didn't. When he found out and came to us, he wasn't yelling. He wasn't angry. He just looked hurt. I've never seen that look on him before. He asked us why. His mother laughed nervously, trying to lighten the mood. My daughter rolled her eyes. My eldest spit near his shoes and called him a coward, said he was too soft to do anything. I thought he'd just take the hit like he always did. I prayed he would. But a week later, we all got legal notices. Police came asking questions. The accounts were frozen. The banks flagged the fraud. He went nuclear quietly, and now it's all unraveling. My wife's in a state. She's sick with worry. We might lose the house. My daughter's crying. I don't know what's going to happen to my job with this mess on my record. We keep calling him, texting. Nothing. It's like he doesn't exist anymore. And then last night, my eldest, the hothead, went to my son's apartment, said he'd talk some sense into him. Hours later, we get a call from the hospital. He'd been beaten badly. Arm broken. Ribs. They didn't steal anything, just left him there. We don't know who did it, but I have this sinking feeling. It might have been his younger brother. He was always quiet too, but lately he's been cold, distant. I think seeing what we did to his older brother pushed him too far. I don't know if he did it or if someone else took matters into their own hands. But one thing's clear. We broke something we can't undo. I used to think a father's job was to hold the family together. Now I see it was my son doing that all along. And we ruined him. Now the law's involved. The family's in pieces. And my son, the one we used, mocked, underestimated, might never come back. God help me. I don't blame him. Update 1. I tried to win the family over. Now everything's in ruins. I don't know how to start this. My hands are still shaking. After everything that happened, the police, the investigation, my eldest son being beaten, I was desperate. I didn't know what to do, how to fix it. I felt like I was losing control of everything, especially over my youngest son, who stopped speaking to us altogether. So I did what I now regret more than anything. I called the extended family. I told them my version of the story, bending things out of fear and pride. I said my youngest cut us off, that he hurt his brother, that we just needed help reaching him. I made it sound like he snapped without reason. I didn't tell them the truth, how much we used him, how we stole from him, how we mocked him. Most of the relatives believed us. They were angry at him. They said they'd talk some sense into him. Some of them meant it literally. Others, I suspect they meant something else. My wife and I thought nothing would come of it. We were wrong. My eldest son finally woke up, and what he told us chilled me to my core. He said he spit at his brother during an argument, just like before, thinking he'd back off like always. But instead, my youngest lunged at him. No hesitation. He beat him so badly he passed out. There were bystanders. People watched it happen. He begged for help and no one intervened. That's how angry, how done he must have looked. I panicked. We tried calling the relatives who went to his house. No one answered. Not a single one. We rushed to his home. As we got closer, we saw black smoke in the sky. Fire trucks, ambulances, police. My son's house was gone. engulfed, destroyed, and there they were, our relatives. Some in handcuffs, others sitting on the curb, bloodied, bandaged, or in stretchers. I saw one of them, barely conscious, call out to me, begging for help. Before I could move, an officer stepped in and blocked me. I told him I was the father of the homeowner. He nodded grimly and explained that my relatives were being investigated for arson and assault. That house was my son's, and now it was gone. A neighbor came forward and told us what happened. They heard yelling, threats, a struggle, then smoke, chaos, screaming, then the fire. And then I saw him, my youngest son, covered in ash and dirt, limping, his arm wrapped, his face bloodied. He looked at me with nothing but fury in his eyes. I called out to him, tried to explain, to ask what happened. He snapped at me, told me I sent those people, that I burned his life down. Some of his friends were there. They stepped in and backed him up, shouting that this was all our fault, that we pushed him to the edge. Some of the relatives started yelling that they didn't do anything, but it was too late. The police knew who the aggressors were. A detective approached me and said I needed to come with him to answer questions. I wasn't arrested, but I had to give a statement. My relatives are in custody now. They're under investigation for arson, assault, and a dozen other charges. I don't know what's going to happen next. My son, my brilliant, gentle son, I pushed him until he broke. And now I'm sitting here, staring at this screen, trying to make sense of the wreckage. My son is willing to burn everything down to be free of us. I don't know if I can ever make this right. Update 2. The truth is out, and we're being torn apart. I went back to the police station today, hoping to clear some things up. I wanted to believe this could still be salvaged somehow, that they'd see this as a messy family dispute that got out of hand. But that illusion shattered fast. The detectives weren't interested in sympathy. They laid everything out, bank statements, forged signatures, audio recordings. They asked me directly about the loans, the stolen savings, and accounts opened in my youngest son's name. I tried to explain it was complicated, that we never intended real harm, but it didn't matter. They see us not as a confused family, but as a group that systematically took advantage of someone who trusted us. Worse, they brought up my cousin. He's not just a bystander. They believe he actively helped us commit the fraud. He coached us through the paperwork, helped us lie to banks, even pretended to be my son in calls to customer service. He was rewarded for it too. He took trips, bought luxury items, and even started a business with money siphoned from my son's accounts. I knew he benefited, but I didn't understand the depth of his involvement until now. After hours of questioning, I was released, but I left feeling like we've already lost. The detectives made it clear. We are not just under scrutiny, we're under investigation. When I got home, the house was in chaos. My daughter was sobbing in the living room, clutching her phone. She showed me why. My youngest son released a video statement online, along with several people, friends, neighbors, even one of the emergency responders who was there the night his house burned down. Each gave their own account of what happened. The details varied slightly, but the message was consistent. My relatives broke into his home. It wasn't a misunderstanding. They forced their way in. There was yelling, a fight, and then the part that hit like a punch to the chest. One of the cousins, the same one who helped us commit fraud, allegedly poured lighter fluid on a curtain and set it on fire. A neighbor even heard him say, "This is what happens when you don't do what they want." The fire spread fast. Neighbors ran in. My son's friends arrived. They fought off the attackers and held them down until the police came. Now, most of those relatives are still in jail. The cousin who allegedly started the fire is denying everything, but even he's being charged, and there's mounting evidence against him. My daughter tried to make her own video to share our side, but the response was immediate and brutal. The comments were filled with hate, threats, and accusations. She broke down and deleted it. Now she's locked herself in her room and won't come out. And my eldest son, he's still in the hospital, his arm's broken, and he hasn't spoken to anyone since waking up. The doctors say it's fear, shock. He won't even respond to messages. My wife and I sat in the quiet last night. No more justifications left. We finally admitted to ourselves what we had done. Not just the money, not just the lies, but what we did to our own son. We agreed we need to face him. Not to excuse anything, just to ask, if we still can, for forgiveness. But it might already be too late. Our lawyer contacted us this morning. My son's legal team is demanding full repayment of every cent we took and damages for the emotional and financial harm. The case is building, and it's not going in our favor. We spent years taking from him, believing he wouldn't fight back, that he'd always forgive. Now he has, and we're watching everything fall apart. And honestly, maybe we deserve it. Update 3, the meeting, the truth, and the end of the road. It's getting worse, far worse than any of us expected. Our daughter tried again to post an apology video, thinking maybe this time she could explain better, show that we were truly remorseful, but it backfired, again. The video was flooded with comments accusing her of manipulation, lies, and playing the victim. People were furious. She took it down not even an hour later, sobbing harder than before. And now, it's gone beyond us. TikTokers, YouTubers, even independent investigative channels are talking about us, picking apart every detail, reviewing the timeline, the video statements, the court documents that somehow leaked. They're calling it one of the most disturbing cases of familial exploitation and retaliation they've seen. They're digging deep, and the world now sees my youngest son as the victim of an unthinkable betrayal. But they're missing something. They don't realize, none of them do, that he didn't just fight back. He burned his own house down. Yes, his relatives broke in. Yes, there was a fight. But now that I've seen the footage from neighbors' security cams, heard the questions from the investigators, and thought about what happened, I'm starting to believe it wasn't just retaliation. It was calculated. He let it burn. Maybe even planned for it to happen. He framed his own family. That night when he came to us, when he confronted all of us, bruised and furious, that was the last chance we had. And what did we do? We mocked him. We spat on him. And now I think we're paying the price for every cruel word and greedy hand. I finally managed to set a formal meeting with him. I thought it might be a step toward peace. It wasn't. We walked into a conference room downtown. Lawyers already seated. And there he was, my son. His right arm was in a cast, burns bandaged across his hand and the side of his neck. His expression, cold, unreadable, until you looked him in the eyes. That's where it was. Rage, quiet, seething, barely contained. His lawyer had to gently tap his shoulder more than once to keep him calm. The man beside him, Steve, introduced himself as his legal representative and also his boss. Apparently, my son works for his law firm as a software developer, helping build internal systems, case management tools, even security frameworks. I didn't know that. I never even asked. And that hit me. He had been right there, doing incredible work, building a life, and I never bothered to learn who he became. Only what we could take. Steve laid out the evidence, methodically, clearly, every forged document, every stolen dollar, every manipulated transaction, all forwarded to the district attorney's office. It was airtight. We thought we'd buried it all, but my son, he's a coder. Of course he'd know how to track it, dig it back up. When I tried to speak, to say maybe burning the house went too far, his lawyer immediately shut me down, said any further claims like that it could be considered libel or slander and would result in additional legal action. Our own lawyer warned us not to push further. Then my son spoke. His voice was calm, but it was the kind of calm that makes your spine go cold. He talked about wanting our approval, about the years he spent trying to earn our love while we emptied his bank account and gaslit him into silence, about how we rallied everyone against him, turned the whole family into a weapon, and when he finally stood up, we destroyed what little he had left, his home. Then he reached into his bag and pulled something out. A half-burned photo album. He slid it across the table. Numb. I ran back into the flames for that, he said. It was all I had left of this family. I thought I was saving memories. He looked straight at me. But when I walked out of the fire, I realized those memories were just lies. The family I wanted never existed. Then he leaned back and said, cold as ice, "There will be no settlement. I want everything back, with interest." Our lawyer tried to counter, to open negotiations, but my son had already stood up. The meeting was over. I sat there, stunned, staring at the photo album on the table. Charred, blackened, just like everything we once had. Update 4. The collapse. It's been weeks since the meeting with our youngest son. Weeks since we were handed the truth, the evidence, and the consequences we never imagined would come crashing down. And it hasn't stopped. Our finances, what's left of them, were leaked online. A popular TikToker went viral exposing the details, breaking down how we spent money that wasn't ours. But the part that truly shattered any last shred of sympathy the public might have had was the trust fund, the one meant for our youngest. We never thought anyone would find out, that it was hidden well enough, but they did, and now the truth is out. We liquidated it years ago, used it to upgrade our home, take trips, buy luxury items we convinced ourselves we earned. That money was never ours, it was his. That expose went straight to the prosecutors. The trust fund alone became another pillar in the mountain of evidence against us. There's no room for excuses anymore. Our daughter quit her job days after the leak. She hasn't left the house since, spending most of her time in her room or quietly crying in the kitchen when she thinks no one hears. As for our eldest son, he was released from the hospital, but the damage wasn't just physical. Well, he doesn't talk, doesn't eat much. We often find him in the living room, sitting in silence, staring out the window or up at the ceiling like he's waiting for something to make sense. He can't walk properly without help, and there's something in his eyes that breaks us, like he finally sees what we all became. The rest of the extended family, they've backed away completely. Those who once called my youngest manipulative and dramatic are now horrified by the facts. They know there's no defense anymore. They can't even pretend he burned his own house down. Not when the forensics, the witness accounts, and the timeline all prove otherwise. They're too scared to speak, much less help. The silence is deafening. And then there's my cousin, formally charged with arson. He's pleading for his innocence now, saying he never meant for it to go that far, offering to cooperate in exchange for leniency. But the district attorney already made it clear, no deals. They want to make an example out of him, and by extension, out of all of us. He was the architect of much of the fraud and had the most to gain. Now he'll face it. Our lawyers are doing what they can, trying to negotiate, to reduce charges, to delay hearings. But the tone has shifted. This isn't about what we can prove anymore. It's about what's already been proven. And it's grim. We finally sat down and looked at our finances. Every account, every asset, every piece of property. And for the first time, we really saw it. How deep we went. How we lived far beyond what we ever truly had. How we used our son as a blank check, an endless wallet we didn't think would ever close. And now, even if we sell everything, the house, the cars, every last thing we clung to, it still won't cover what we stole. We didn't just take money from him. We took his trust, his love, his peace. We left him nothing, and somehow convinced ourselves it was fine because he stayed quiet. But now he's not quiet anymore. And we're standing in the ruin of what we built with his money and our lies. Update 5. The trial and the truth that broke us. The court case has been absolutely brutal. Every day in that courtroom strips away another layer of who we used to be, or thought we were. The media coverage hasn't slowed, and every detail feels like it's being broadcast to the entire world. It's clear now that I may spend time behind bars. The evidence is stacked too high. The fraud, the identity theft, the stolen trust fund. It all points back to me. I've already told my lawyer I'll take the fall for most of it. It's the only thing I can do now. Maybe it'll give my family a sliver of a future. My wife, thankfully, might be granted probation. They say she was complicit but less involved in the paper trail, The court seems more lenient toward her, though the shame weighs heavier than any sentence. As for our eldest son and daughter, they won't have a criminal record. Their roles, while questionable, weren't provable enough for charges. But that doesn't mean they're okay. Our daughter had a mental breakdown. All the isolation, the online harassment, the guilt, it became too much. She was admitted to a psychiatric facility after we found her unresponsive one morning. She's awake now, medicated and under care. But she's not the same anymore. She barely speaks. My wife tried reaching out to our youngest again. She apologized in tears, begged him to stop the legal onslaught, said we were already ruined and there was nothing left to gain. But he didn't even answer. His lawyer shut the conversation down instantly. And then there's my cousin, the one who helped orchestrate everything. He's looking at 5 to 10 years just for the arson and potentially more for the fraud and assault. His cooperation was too little, too late. The district attorney is relentless, and they're using this case to make a statement. Then came the moment I never thought I'd witness. We were in court. The room was silent, except for the voice of our youngest lawyer as he cross-examined us. He began asking my wife why we treated our youngest so differently, why he was never given the love or support the others received. She didn't answer at first. The judge warned her. She trembled. Then she broke. She admitted it, right there under oath, that he was an accident, a child she never wanted, that she begged me to terminate the pregnancy, that it was our parents, his grandparents, who talked us out of both abortion and adoption. The courtroom was frozen. I looked at my youngest. He didn't flinch. He didn't cry. He just sat there, calm, composed. But in that single moment, when his mother uttered those words, I saw it, a flicker, the tiniest glimpse of sadness in his eyes. Beneath all the rage, beneath all the armor he's built over the years, that child we failed was still there, hearing the truth we kept from him all his life. And I knew then, without a doubt, we'd already lost him forever. He didn't destroy this family. We did. And now we're just waiting for the final sentencing, living each day like a ghost of the life we stole. Final update, the last page I'll ever write. This will be my final update. In 2 weeks, I'll be surrendering myself to serve 5 years in prison for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. The case is over. We lost, utterly and completely. Everything we thought we had is gone. The house, the savings, the future we selfishly built on our youngest son's back, all of it. And the worst part? We deserve every bit of this. Our youngest now owns the house we once lived in. We were ordered to vacate it, and when I found out he planned to rent it out, I swallowed my pride and asked if he would consider letting us stay, as tenants, as people just trying to survive. I offered to pay rent on top of the court-mandated repayments. I begged him. He refused. He looked me in the eye and said, "This house will be filled with real family, people who love each other, not use each other." That was the end of the conversation. Everything we owned, what we didn't already lose to court penalties, is being liquidated. Our retirement, our savings, our other assets are being transferred to him. And even after I serve my time, a portion of my wages will be garnished to repay what we took. We're ruined. My cousin, the one who helped commit the fraud and who allegedly started the fire that destroyed my son's home, was charged with arson and faces over 10 years in prison. But here's the truth. The police didn't even bother to investigate whether he really started it. Why? Because the evidence against him and the rest of us was so overwhelming, so damning, that there was no need for speculation. Surveillance footage, testimonies, digital records. My youngest son held all the cards. No one else involved that day has said a word. They know what he has on them. They know they're lucky not to be behind bars too. We all underestimated him. And now we're paying the price. A few nights ago, after everyone went to bed, I sat alone in the living room. What's left of it? I was going through the motions, trying to feel something other than regret, when I found myself watching a video that my son had posted. It was just him speaking plainly to the camera. He talked about the truth, about being an unwanted child, about hearing his mother admit on the stand that he was an accident, someone she never wanted to carry, someone we only kept because his grandparents intervened. He spoke about how he spent his life trying to earn our love, how every smile, every favor, every achievement was a desperate attempt to be seen, not just used. And then he said the words that broke me completely. I was born into a family that treated me like a tool. I just wanted to be part of them. But now I know I never was. I cried watching that, harder than I ever have in my life. After the video ended, I found the old photo album. I hadn't touched it in years. Page after page, I saw the truth we never acknowledged. He was always on the edge, always in the background, always smiling. Until one day, he wasn't. He never had a place in the center, not in the pictures, not in the family. Just a boy, looking for warmth and getting cold shoulders in return. Now our daughter is packing to move in with distant relatives. She's out of the facility, but emotionally shattered. Our eldest son, newly discharged from the hospital, is a shadow of himself. Thin, silent, ashamed. My wife walks like her body carries years of guilt she can't put down. And me? I'll be turning myself in soon. Maybe it's justice. Maybe it's mercy. Maybe it's just the end. All I know is I should have been a better father. I should have seen him, loved him, protected him. But I didn't.
How would you handle this scenario? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story kept you gripped, hit the like button and subscribe for more stunning family drama, unexpected betrayals, and unbelievable revenge tales.